So here we have the Neo M1 Plus Smart Pen. There are other Smart Pen solutions out there, but it's something of a fledgling industry, and after a fair amount of research we found this was the most advanced and flexible option on the market that could meet our needs. It's primarily marketed as an aid to taking notes, but we're specifically looking for a way of recording drawings and illustrations without losing the tactile experience of pen to paper. We essentially bought this as an alternative to a graphics tablet, which we may still get in the future anyway. The pen arrives in a sleek, minimal box, definitely taking some cues from Apple in terms of presentation. The form factor of the pen is totally like a normal pen. Most of the other options out there are definitely on the chunkier side, so it's great for it to feel as it does. The build quality and design is very good. It's a nice object in and of itself and doesn't look or feel particularly like something digital. So the giveaway that this is in fact a digital pen is obviously the mini USB port on the end and also the small LED and an on-off switch. Not so obvious is the sensor near the tip of the pen, which I'll talk about later. It comes with a standard little USB cable, which is interchangeable with any other you might have, but this one has a little Neo logo on it, and also comes with a spare ink cartridge. These are a standard cartridge type known as D1. They're not manufactured or sold by Neo, but any you find should be compatible, although Neo does have a list of recommended ones from specific manufacturers, which you can find on the website. The pen needs charging when it arrives, and the red light here indicates that it's charging. When it's full, it will flash green and turn itself off. You probably won't see the flashing, you'll just see it off, and that means it's charged. Now, this thing only works with paper that has something called Encode printed on it, and is only available via Neo themselves. Or there are some Moleskine notebooks with it printed on too, as Neo have collaborated with them to produce a pen with or for them, I'm not sure exactly, but it uses the same technology. This dotted pattern is barely visible, but lets the pen know where it is on the paper. There are many options for the paper, from simple pads to Moleskine-esque notebooks like the one we've got here. You also have the option of downloading and printing Encode paper using PDFs that can be found on the Neo website. The recommendation is that you use a laser printer for this, and some configuration is required if you want to use an inkjet, and that not all inkjet printers are compatible, but there's more info on the website for that too. One nice feature is that based on the Encode, the companion app knows what you're writing on, down to the specific page if you're using a pad or book, and stores this in a dedicated virtual version of the paper source. You can export individual pages or entire notebooks in various formats, including PDF. The notebook we chose is called the Professional Black. The first half has rule pages, the second half has blank pages. We didn't really want the rule pages, but there wasn't a Moleskine style notebook with blank pages only, and since getting it we've actually used the note-taking features, which have turned out to be quite useful, though not the reason we got it in the first place. The design and build quality of the notebook is also high, and the way they've bound the pages lets you easily open the notebook completely flat, allowing you to write or draw to the edge of the page or even across pages. The Neo logo is also nicely embossed on the front. As we can see, the pen is fully charged as the LED has switched off. Here's a close-up of the USB port, pretty self-explanatory. Opening the pen is accompanied by a little beep. The pen turns itself on and off when you remove and replace the lid, and will also turn itself off if left idle without the lid, which is very useful. Here you can see the infrared sensor. When you press the pen to the paper, the cartridge engages a pressure sensor inside the pen, and the infrared sensor reads the encode on the paper. The pen also has 100 megabytes of internal memory, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's apparently enough to record 1,000 sheets of writing. This means that you can write or draw without the companion app, and when you do reconnect the pen with the app, you can upload all that data to the app library. The battery life is billed as 3 times that of the M1, which is 6 hours. So theoretically this pen has a battery life of 18 hours. I haven't tested this, but I can quite easily believe it, as although it's very clever, it's not doing very intensive work by recording and transmitting simple line data. The app setup is about as simple as it could be. I got the instructions out, but they're not really necessary as the app guides you through the steps, which there are only a few of. I accidentally missed the calibration step as the app skipped past it as soon as I put the pen to the paper. It works fine on the default settings, though I think it loses the lowest end of the pressure sensitivity, which we kind of need. So I went back and revisited the calibration later, and it is quite tedious. It's not very clear instruction wise. You sort of have to figure out what's going on. You adjust a line on a graph which plots the thickness of the line relative to the pressure sensitivity. You can test the different settings in real time, but you can't zoom in on the little display it gives you, making it hard to notice what changes are actually occurring as the line is so thin, at least on the phone. What I found myself having to do was to navigate through several layers of menus every time I wanted to really see the effects changing the setting has, by going to the notebook canvas, then back to the calibration. The calibration settings should really be immediately accessible from the canvas mode. This was really annoying to do. Anyway, as you can see, the pen and app together do a great job of accurately recording my doodles. The pen is pressure sensitive, and this comes through on the app. What I don't know, as I don't know enough about vectors and haven't tested it, is if the pressure data is in the vectors themselves when you export to SVG, so you can maintain these variations if you, as I do, want to change to a more realistic brush type. We're seeing the NeoNotes app here, which can play back what you've done in an animated way but not export video. Neo do offer a video creation app called PaperTube, but it's one geared towards producing presentation style videos, so it's landscape only and all the app functions are solely to do with giving presentations. There's nothing artistic or design based. The only non-video format it seems to export is PDF, whereas I need those SVGs. I haven't tested whether the PDFs contain vector or raster graphics, so that could be a workaround. I haven't really looked into it yet. It's awkward and fiddly on a phone screen though, so it seems like you really need a tablet if you want to get anything useful out of it. The workaround for recording the video from NeoNotes app is to record the screen of the phone. This is built into iOS, but not all Android phones, so you may or may not need to download another app to do this on Android. You could record whilst writing or drawing, or record the animated playback. What you're seeing here is the latter. There are 4 playback speeds, regular, 2 times, 4 times, 8 times. You can only cycle through these as opposed to select the one you want. Meaning, for example, that if you're on 2x, you need to press the speed button 3 times, going through 4x and 8x to get back to normal speed. Which is not exactly a deal breaker, but it's still a bit annoying for me personally, as I'd prefer to easily switch between the different playback speeds while recording. Either way, it does still allow for a quick and easy way to generate, say, content for social media without needing to leave the phone and doing video editing on a desktop. The process of exporting to SVG and sharing this via email is very simple, as it is with the other file formats. Once I got it into Illustrator, the artboard doesn't fit exactly, but that's not really an issue. Just drag it out like this. Now what we have here are vectors for every single line that was drawn, which is great. These can now of course be manipulated in any way you like, including, as they're vectors, non-destructive scaling. So you could scale this up and print it on a building if you wanted to. The Moleskine version of this pen, Neo seems to have licensed the hardware to Moleskine for their pen that does similar things, and the Moleskine pen has an Adobe extension that lets you draw straight into Adobe Illustrator. Now, I wish this pen had something similar. You can't use that extension for the M1 Plus. Even better would be drivers so that it could be used with any software, just as though it were a graphics tablet. As it stands, you are forced to use Neo's own software, which, although it's not bad, does put this extra layer between the pen data and the computer, where if you want to do, art, creating, design-based stuff, it's just an extra layer of friction that I wish wasn't there. All in all, I am impressed by the design and the capabilities of the Neo M1 Plus. It does record accurately, provides a variety of file formats to export to, and the app has some useful features. If I had to give it a score out of 10, because people seem to like that, I would say 8. The hardware is great, can't really fault that at all. It's very sensitive, long battery life, the internal storage is a great idea. So they could do more to remove the friction for artists and designers to get the most out of it. I wish more usability features were geared more towards creators. As the way things are now, it does put up a few barriers here and there in terms of digitizing that creativity. That being said, they could bring it up to a 9 by just making some software and UX changes, because that's really where the problem is. It's not the pen itself. Mainly this would be the ability to natively export video from the Neo Notes app, because using the PaperTube app, it's not really sufficient workaround, especially on a phone. The ability to interface directly with devices, such as a computer, with no intermediary software, like it was a graphics tablet, and also being able to access calibration settings more directly would vastly improve the experience. I also came across a bug where, after slightly editing a page using the internal editor just to delete a couple of stray lines, when I returned to the page, half the drawing had disappeared. I thought it was lost, but it appeared on the next blank page I went to draw on, which was strange and a bit annoying. I can obviously Frankenstein that drawing back together on a computer, but I'd rather not have to do that. So the takeaway for me is don't use the internal editor or any of these sort of supplementary features in the app, or use them as little as possible, and save any editing for the computer. I find myself not being able to trust the app to do anything more than record the lines, which I don't really appreciate, it not being reliable in this way, in that supplementary functions shouldn't be interfering with the primary function. So that just about wraps things up, I think. You can find relevant links in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, which I'll try to answer individually, but if there's many, perhaps I can do a follow-up video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.